It's like Fun Friday. It's like Fun Friday, you fucking loser.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Table, a horror movie podcast presented by the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. My name is Mitch, and I'm one of your hosts here every single week on this program. And with me, as always, we have...
I'm Boozy.
We got Boozy. He is back, and we are welcoming on returning guests, very special guest of the show. We decided to ask our friend Daniel Epler, the host of the Cobwebs podcast, back to discuss 3 Crocodile films from 2007. Before we do that, how are you doing, Daniel?
Hey guys. Oh, I'm doing really good. I really appreciate you guys having me on for this one. And I want to make a commitment right here and now that at the end of this podcast, I will not say, "See you later, alligator." I will resist.
Yeah, you have to resist, because that's something we got to talk about.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, crocodiles and alligators are not the same thing. So we don't want to piss people off here. I know we had a friend of the show, Brent Hibbard, commented on our Instagram post saying that he prefers alligators over crocodiles, and that's just a whole can of worms we can't even open here.
I want to know what his logic is behind that, though. Like what his reasoning is.
We'll talk to him
Because I have Gator Facts for later. I have later Gator Facts.
I've been having a lot of gator conversations, and see, but is a crocodile? We're such idiots, or I am such. Sorry to bring you guys down.
I can tell you the difference if you need.
Is a crocodile? Can we call a crocodile a gator? Obviously not, because that's short for gator.
No, they're just a croc.
Okay, croc. What a croc!
I know.
Shit.
Gator kind of like rolls off the tongue better. But all the films we're talking about are all croc movies.
Sorry to go off on an immediate tangent, but Jay Luke sent me a text message the other day saying, "Look at what Pan got me for my Crocs." So he sent me pictures of his Crocs, and this is former guest of the show, Jay Luke, and he has flare, like little, like you can get little buttons that you put on the holes.
It's like a big thing.
He has like a Jack Torrance one, and it just obviously makes me think of Office Space with the. Can you bring some more flair,
some more zazz, some more pep?
Who the fuck, first of all, is above the age of 30 and has Crocs, and who has flair for their Crocs? Jay Luke, I guess.
So it's not even that he has them. He specifically is like making them more aggressive, that you have to actually look at them. He's not even silently going with them. That's a bold statement.
Hello, ladies.
Yeah, he's like, look at my
Crocs are down here.
My flair is up here.
Do you think he keeps those on during sex?
They're breathable, so at least he's not going to get sweaty.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Do you think they give good traction? Probably. I don't know.
I've never owned a pair of Crocs.
Neither have I. I'm a grown adult.
Yeah, it's that, and I don't know. It's just for ethical reasons. I don't like how they make the Crocs out of Crocs.
Right. That's the secret ingredient.
I'm sorry, off to a rough start here once again, folks. All right, well, yeah, so we are going to be talking about 3 crocodile films as promised on previous episodes of the show. Moving forward, we're going to be doing some triple feature episodes. This is going to happen for the foreseeable future of the Terror Table, and what we are normally going to do is we are going to have 3 films in the same subgenre from 3 different decades. So for an example, we have an episode coming up with our friend Lindsay Wilkins from the Schlock and Awe podcast. And I guess I can just announce this right now because it's fun. But we are going to be doing a monster mash with Lindsay. So she got to choose first. We let her choose which film she wanted to discuss. And she chose Clive Barker's Nightbreed. So that's a movie we have not discussed on the Terror Table before. Very anxious to hear Boozy's thoughts on Nightbreed.
I own Nightbreed. Somewhere. Yeah, it's a DVD in my basement somewhere.
Okay, because I'm very curious what you're going to think of that one. But so that's from 1990s. So Boozy chose Prophecy from 1979, which is a movie we've talked about on the show before, but not in full feature.
We just watched it one time and talked about it. Yeah,
me and you watched it together and just fucking loved it. So that's going to be a blast. And so that's from 1979.
Daniel, have you seen Prophecy?
No, I haven't. I was just thinking I need to add that to my list.
It's about an environmentally evil bear.
Yeah, it's great. It is.
Okay, so it's an animal attack movie.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Sort of. It's a monster animal attack movie. It's wild. And then I chose the Ray Harryhausen's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
I'm super stoked for this.
Have seen that one.
Yeah, I chose it because I haven't seen it, but I want to represent some Ray Harryhausen on the program. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. But today we're already breaking our rules on the first episode. We are doing all three movies that came out in 2007, and the common thread is that they are all Crocodile movies. So we are going to be discussing Blackwater, and then we will talk about Primeval, and then we will finish things off with Rogue. So we figured Daniel, he's a guy that I've never had a conversation in my life with you about. I've talked about movies so many times, but I don't think we've ever talked about animal attack movies. So I was like, hey, this would be a good time to have Daniel on to discuss some flicks that you may not have seen before.
And if you fucking hated all of them, sorry.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I hadn't seen any of these movies, and some people might jerk back from that kind of request, but I thought that was really exciting because I do enjoy getting to a podcast outside of my wheelhouse, and I like researching by watching movies I've never seen. So it was fun leading up to this, and I'm excited to talk about these.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I thought you'd be a great out of left field pick for this episode, just because, yeah, I guess I don't even know what would be considered. After thinking about it, I was like, Chris Hurtado probably would have been super game for a Crocodile episode. Because he tends to like that, for lack of better words, bottom of the barrel kind of monster movie.
We wanted to have we needed him to have the weekend off after his excessive partying.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
All that mug root beer.
Yeah. Happy birthday to a fellow mug maniac.
Yeah. Before we get on just talking about what we've been seeing, because I have a couple things I want to mention. I know Boozy does as well. I'm sure Daniel has some. Just Daniel, since you are from Cobwebs Podcast, we brought you on to discuss 3 Crocodile films. So with that, I have this question to ask you. Chris Sarandon, hot or not?
Oh man, yes. I just listened to this on your last episode. I actually thought of this funny thing. I was listening to this other podcast recently, the F This Movie podcast. And the Patrick Brownlee, the host of that, he was talking about how he wrote a piece about Fright Night, and he made fun of Chris Sarandon's large necked sweater that he wears in the club. And he said, apparently some woman commented below and said, like, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea what that sweater meant to women in the 80s. It's like, oh, okay. No, Chris Sarandon, hot all the way.
Yeah, definitely hot.
So this sweater's like a sexual icon in its own way.
That's absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it would be if like anyone was wearing it. I think it's the Chris Sarandon plus sweater outfit.
Right.
Exactly.
So it could just be like a regular old sweater for anyone else, but him wielding it is like Thor's hammer.
We put the nail in the coffin. We figured it out. We cracked the case of Colin Farrell is definitely hot, but Colin Farrell's hot with a tank top. Chris Sarandon, imagine Colin Farrell in a turtleneck. Not for me.
Not as hot. A little bit
the
penguin like,
Exactly. All right. Well, yeah, that was my question. I just know Daniel's favorite film of all time is Fright Night, so I wanted to lead off with that.
I did not realize questioning somebody's sex appeal was so trivial.
When it's Chris Sarandon,
I didn't realize that there was such a fan base for him.
Yeah. Well, now you know.
I'm that fan base.
Yeah, the stands were out.
Yeah. But yeah, shout out Sean Talley. That was a super fun episode.
Yeah,
if you haven't listened, go back. That was just last week. Let's catch up on some movies. Daniel, have you checked out any horror movies recently that you want to discuss?
Have you seen anything since the last time we've ever spoke to you?
You know what? A few things. No, I've actually been on a big horror kick lately. I'm not exactly like you guys in that I don't watch horror movies, the majority of the time. I switch up genres a lot, but I have been watching a lot of horror lately. Particularly, I've been on a kick of checking out 80s horror movies that I've never seen because I've just been feeling like, sometimes you start to feel like you've seen everything and you feel like you've seen like all the favorites that are going to be your favorites. But I was just wondering recently, like what else is out there? And I have actually found 3 80s horror movies recently that I'm like a huge fan of now. And I'm so happy to have found them.
I'm loving this. I love this energy. Like the 80s has a gold mine of stuff.
Especially you have to have seen, like you said, seen most of it by now. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on Shocker.
I watched Shocker like in passing a long time ago. It was one of those viewings where I sort of checked out like halfway through. I need to revisit that one. But My favorite 80s horror movie I discovered recently is Soul Survivor from 1984. Either you guys seen this one?
No, but that is a good Young Jeezy track.
I'll take your word for it.
I'm pretty sure, because I know I've seen I don't know if it was a remake, but there's a remake there was a movie called Soul Survivors with Eliza Dushku. I've seen that, and that's a very boozy movie.
What is this about?
Well,
Okay,
I don't know if they're even related.
They're not related.
Okay.
But you know what's funny is that movie is directed by the director of a movie that I was going to talk about a little bit later. So that's actually pretty weird. But this one is from 1984. One reason I really wanted to see it is it's directed by Tom Eberhardt, and he made Night of the Comet, which is one of my favorite 80s movies of all time. And this one, if you hear anybody talk about this movie, the first thing they're going to tell you is it's the precursor to Final Destination and It Follows.
Right. That's where I know.
Yeah,
oh, okay. This is very intriguing. I remember talking about those movies. That.
Yeah, like put together, because what it's about is this woman, Denise, who is the sole survivor of a plane crash. And she just starts to feel like she wasn't supposed to survive that. And she's being haunted very much It Follows like by these figures of just people who just stand around and stare at her. And
so is this kind of like extreme survivor guilt?
Yeah, I mean, they talk about survivor guilt a lot, and her boyfriend in this is a doctor, and he's, constantly mansplaining to her like, well, this is just survival guilt. Let me tell you all about it. Yeah. It's amazing. Like, it's incredibly creepy. Like, I'm a fan of the Final Destination movies. I really enjoyed your guys' episode on it, the franchise, by the way. But this is like the best Final Destination movie. It's so creepy and eerie. It has this great,
incredible poster.
The poster is my phone background right now.
Yeah, this like Boozy. This seems like something that you just click on immediately on Tubi.
I'm very into it, but I typed Soul Survivor the other way, like SOUL, and it did come up with Young Jeezy. So I just want to point that out, that it's not that far off.
All right.
Anyway, the movie is really, really good. I highly recommend
it. Daniel, awesome. Quick question for you, since you brought up about Final Destination. Thoughts on 5? Have you seen 5?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's my third favorite of the franchise, and I watched the whole franchise like within the past 6 months ish. Right. I'd never seen them all until recently, and by and large, I really enjoy them.
I honestly I just want to talk to people about the 5th one now, because it's like, holy shit, this thing exists and it's pretty fucking good, honestly.
Very underrated.
Yeah, I love the ending so much. It's so satisfying, especially when you binge through the whole franchise really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, that was Soul Survivor from 1984. So yeah, that is SOLE Survivor. Boozy, do you want to knock one off and we'll make our way back to Daniel?
Yeah, I have 2. So I'll just talk about the first one here. This one's kind of the one that isn't as interesting. I want to save the best stuff for last. So I checked out, this is on Tubi. This is called The Suckling from 1990.
Oh, yes.
You know about this?
Yes, of course. I'm pretty sure this was one of the first movies I watched when I got Tubi.
So it's an aborted mutant fetus.
The Suckling, also the autobiography of Kyle Zervinsky. Sorry, continue.
So the tagline for this is, he'll always want to be mommy's little mutant. A woman goes to a back alley abortion clinic only to have her aborted fetus attack her boyfriend, and everyone else at the clinic. It's a sewer baby monster that attacks people. It's pretty fun. Obviously, I can't give it a high rating. They did have some interesting practical effects, and it's clearly somebody who really liked Alien and was like, what if it's an abortion clinic and just really sleazy?
Yeah, like it's about as sleazy as it gets.
Also, I like that they had to define it as a backdoor abortion clinic. It's not even like one of those fancy uptown ones.
I don't know if this is just glaring whenever I do this to you guys, but remember that font? Like, I'm showing the post, one of the posters from something. It looks like
you wouldn't download a movie font.
You wouldn't download a fettuccine Alfredo.
Yeah, that font.
And the tagline, it'll suck your brains out. But it looks like this looks like a nightmare version of who's the pink one in SpongeBob?
Patrick. Patrick Star.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you there.
How do you not know your SpongeBob's? That's essential viewings.
Okay. Well, yeah. So that was The Suckling.
Lucy, I letterbox stalked you, and I see you gave it 1.5 stars.
Yeah. Did you say letterbox doxing me? Oh no.
Boozy, that's the thing too, is there's times where Boozy will talk about a movie that he like really liked and it'll be like 2.5 stars. And it's like everyone has such a weird different rating system.
Mine
my,
doesn't make sense in context to other things I rate. So
Yeah.
like I admit that.
My friend Nathan Jones, who's a YouTuber who you guys might know, he's like that, and Chris and I tease him about it all the time.
Yeah. I'm talking to Nathan Jones this Thursday, actually, going on his
That's
channel.
awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Cool. Yeah, I have two to mention as well, and I'll start with one that isn't horror, but I'm gonna mention it anyways because it needs more love. I want to get the word out about it because the movie I want to talk about is Dinner in America, which was the winner of the 2020 Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival. Boozy, I can't remember, or no, I don't think you saw this one.
No, I didn't,
No,
unfortunately.
yeah, so this one, it was written and directed by Adam Raymeyer, and it stars Kyle Gallner, who's from The Haunting in Connecticut, Jennifer's Body. He's in the new Scream. He's also in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Like, he's that guy who just always looked like he was the token emo kid. He was always sad. But yeah, he's in this, and also Emily Skeggs, who is tremendous in this film. But she looks like, judging by her IMDb, she's only played like smaller bit roles. But yeah, this one, it won the festival, and I remember it having just such a huge impact on me when I saw it. And it's just an off-kilter punk rock romantic comedy, and it's easily one of my favorite movies of the last decade. Like, it's just, this thing is just
Better than Joker?
Let's not go there. We can't compare that's setting Dinner in America up for failure. Come on.
I'm sorry, Dinner America.
But no, yeah, this one, it's super mean spirited, but the thing is, that's what makes the eventual heart feel so great and just really cut through the nihilism of the whole film. And it's just a super enjoyable, fun punk rock comedy. And I highly recommend it. The reason I'm mentioning it too is because you can't get it anywhere. Like, it's not streaming anywhere. The only place you can get it is in the US. Arrow Video put a copy of it out. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I went and did I bought the import or whatever, and had our friends Jason and Lauren over to watch it because I knew that they would love it. And it's something along the lines of like a really twisted Taika Waititi type Napoleon Dynamite type quirky comedy, if you know what I'm saying. But it's not
fantastic.
It's great. It's just fucking awesome. I love it so much.
So this won the Saskatoon Film Festival, and you didn't see it there?
No, I saw it there. That's where I saw it. But
okay.
I've been dying to see it again, and it just hasn't had a release anywhere.
Okay.
And I think because that was like in the heart of COVID. So this thing, like on the special features, it's kind of crazy. This is the first time that I experienced this, where I go to the special features because I just want to see all that, like if they have any making ofs or interviews or anything like that. That's my bread and butter. But it's all Zoom calls because they did it all.
Oh, yeah.
So we're in that era now, where we're gonna start seeing more and more of that. But either way, it's just, the movie's got tons of style. It's super funny, and it's just charming as hell. But I will say, like, you be warned, and I know that like our festival director, he even warned people before the screening, being like, this is a movie that like isn't going to be for everyone because some of the characters are so fucking mean and gross and repulsive. But that is totally, it comes full circle. If you stick with the movie, it's so rewarding. So I love it. I wanted to mention it here again, and yeah, it was awesome. So that's Dinner in America from 2020. Daniel, you want to give us another one?
Sure. You know, based on your introduction of that movie, I thought you were going to talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No, and I still haven't seen it. I
Okay.
can't wait to. I've heard it's amazing.
I won't talk about it much because it's not a horror movie, but yeah, it's really fun. I got a chance to see it in theaters this past weekend. But anyway, the next 80s horror movie I discovered that I'm a really big fan of now is an Anthony Hickox movie. He directed Waxwork and Hellraiser 3, and it's called Sundown: The Vampire in Retreat from 1989.
Ooh.
I love the name of this.
It's a great title. Yeah. Vestron put it out, and they're like Blu-ray run. And I'm almost a completionist with Vestron. But it had been sitting on my shelf for a little bit until recently I finally popped it in. And it is such a fun movie. It is such a wild mix of genres and tones because it's kind of a Western, although it doesn't take place in Old West times, but it takes place in this like small town in the West. And basically it's a town full of vampires, and the vampires are trying to keep to themselves and not hurt anybody. And they have a blood factory where they make artificial blood and they live off of that. But it has an insane like 80s B movie cast. So it stars David Carradine as the head vampire, kind of the Dracula stand-in. But it also has Bruce Campbell, who I went into the movie expecting him to be like a cameo, and he's not. He's the Van Helsing character, and he's in it a lot.
Amazing.
Deborah Foreman is in it, who you might be a fan of from like April Fool's Day or Valley Girl. Emmett Walsh is in it. It's got like this incredible cast of kind of like great B movie character actors. And it's kind of a comedy, but it's also kind of a gross, gory horror movie. And it's a ridiculous amount of fun. It's like overstuffed with characters and side plots, but that just keeps it super entertaining all the way through. So, you know, it's not a movie that I'm ever going to hold up as some kind of masterpiece, but my God, it is so entertaining. So if you get a chance to like stream it or get the best on Blu-ray or anything, I think it's a really, really good time.
What's the vampire lore situation with this? I love the idea of a blood factory.
So it's fairly traditional in terms of the rules, but like they can go out into the sun, but they put on a ton of sunscreen and hats and sunglasses and stuff. So everybody just walks around with like hats and like all.
They don't look suspicious at all.
Yeah, they do turn into bats, and sometimes you see like them like halfway between bat and human, and that's like some fun monster effects.
Love it, and it's got Bobby Briggs from Twin Peaks. He's in it as well. Dana Ashbrook. Yeah, I'm tossing this one at the top of the list.
Yeah, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I love
that. Made my letterbox already now.
Yeah, hell yeah, awesome. Boozy, you want to talk about your other one?
Yeah, so the other one I have, and excuse me if I get this wrong because it's been a little bit. I believe you've talked about this movie a lot, and I think it made your list, Mitch. I'm not entirely, but I watched The Vigil.
Oh yeah, that was in my top 10.
Yeah, so I really like the non-traditional stylings of this, being that the lore is based on Jewish culture as opposed to traditionally, like most of the time we get Christian stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just a very twisted little haunted house movie with like a Hebrew, the Hebrew lore is just so fascinating in it, because this is something like I looked it up afterwards after watching it, that's actually something that people do.
It's like actual deep lore.
They watch over a body after it passes overnight. They have someone just stand watch to make sure no outside forces or anything gets in or out. And the movie plays out in just like a really tight little haunted house.
I was gonna say they did a lot with not really having a lot in terms of a location. It is
just all in a house.
And you don't even get to see a lot of the second part of the house. No. I also will say that we do enjoy a good movie about a body being at a morgue or on a stretcher, coffin.
I pointed out too, it's very much like it'd be a great double feature with Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah, or even that, it kind of reminded me of that one segment in VHS as well.
94.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, it's solid.
Yeah, I keep meaning to watch this because like I feel like it keeps tricking me into thinking it's like one of the super generic Conjuring ripoff type movie. Like it looks like The Devil Inside or something like that.
Yeah, and it's not.
But yeah, I've heard it's great. I got to check it out. Would you describe like is the horror more like quiet and slow, or does it get kind of crazy towards the end? Like what's the
I feel like it actually it starts off very like on a smaller scale, and you do spend a lot of time. It's the waiting for the ticking bomb kind of thing. You're always waiting for something to happen with the body, and it's a lot of the subtle stuff that happens around there. And then towards the end they have a couple segments where it gets really it's almost like dimensional. It's like sinister on a very, very small scale, if that makes sense.
It's chilling and haunting. It's very chilling. It'd be good. Pretty sure I said it was like, this is something that it's like, that's the kind of shit I'm on the lookout for during October, where I want actually creepy films.
I just think the idea of having to watch over a dead body in any circumstance is just terrifying.
Unless it's the dead body of your enemy.
But wouldn't your enemy be like the worst person to watch out for? Because it's like,
not when he's dead.
Man, what if my enemy comes back?
You could just leave. You don't have to watch over it because he's dead.
True.
Unless it's Michael Myers, then he's going to get back up no matter what.
Yeah. No
Yeah, if
doubt,
I've
no
learned
doubt.
anything from horror movies, I never turn my back on dead bodies until they're like squished, and because like, even if they're buried, they're gonna come back.
Right. And Keith Thomas, the director of this one, his upcoming film is Firestarter, the
Oh,
new
I'm
Stephen
excited for
King.
that because it's Zach
Ooh.
Efron, and I'm always rooting for that boy.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And Red Foreman. Yeah, I hope it's
Wait,
good.
Red Foreman's in that?
Yeah, dog.
Oh man, I'm glad he's getting work. Good for him. I hope
Yeah,
he looks identical and hasn't aged at all.
since RoboCop.
Yes.
Yeah. No, okay, awesome. So that's the Vigil. Is that tap you out for the week?
Yeah, that's all
Boozy?
I got.
Cool. Okay, yeah, I'll close mine off. So another one that's like, debatably horror or not, but I want to mention it is I rewatched The Seventh Seal, Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal. I did this, I think it was Sunday night. It was a couple nights ago. But yeah, Ingmar Bergman, legendary director behind films like Persona, The Virgin Spring, and one that I really, really want to see. It's still on my list, called Winterlight, which was recommended by a friend of the show, composer of The Druid's Hand, Scott Hamilton. I've heard it's just awesome. But yeah, this one's starring Max von Sydow, and it's set around him playing a game of chess with death itself during the Black Plague. So this movie came out in 1957. This is one of those ones that they teach it in film schools, so it's like it's generally well known among those types of communities, but it's also, I think, a blind spot for a lot of people. And that's one of the reasons I want to mention it here, is that like this is it, in my opinion, it's poetry. This is the blueprint on literal morality tales, and it's obviously one of the biggest inspirations for films like David Lowery's The Green Knight from last year that I loved. I see a lot of, obviously there's so many similarities between The Seventh Seal and The Green Knight, but this is just one of those movies that it really did. I think it's essential for anyone who's interested in like dissecting cinematic narratives or story beats or languages. Like it might bore some people to tears, but it's also one of the movies that it was a trendsetter in a lot of ways. I see so many similarities, so many threads between this film, like upon rewatch after like paying close attention to it, and so many of my favorite filmmakers and different like story elements that are incorporated throughout it. And it's a timeless tale. Like I could be wrong, and if there's someone to prove me wrong, it's Daniel. I think that this is one of the first films that is just watching a character play out, like we watch other stories kind of intertwine while they're having a conversation. I could be entirely out to lunch here.
I mean, you could almost say Citizen Kane is that.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, yeah, okay. So yeah, that's another big one too. But yeah, no, this movie is
it's kind of big.
Yep, yeah. This one, I don't know, it's the sense of nihilism, it's grim nature. It's something that I'm really attracted to, and I really, really loved watching it again, and it's making me want to go through a Ingmar Bergman kick, but I don't know if I can be any more depressed. So that's
Well, if you want to watch Ingmar Bergman and don't want to be depressed, you should check out Smiles of a Summer Night. It's his like light romantic comedy, and it's incredibly fun and funny. Like it really shows that he could do anything.
awesome. Yeah, no, there's so many blind spots for me in Bergman's filmography, so I want to
Oh
start
yeah,
going
me
through
too.
that.
Like I kind of went through a brief Bergman kick where I watched like maybe 5 in close proximity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have that giant Criterion brick that
Yeah,
has
that
his whole
brick.
works or anything.
Yeah, no, I love it. Highly recommend it. It's on the Hollywood Suite if you have Amazon Prime. That's what I subscribe to, the Hollywood Suite, because it has all the classic films. That's why I've been watching a lot of like old classic noirs and romantic comedy stuff like that. It's been a blast. So that is The Seventh Seal, a movie you might not have heard of before. All right, so Daniel, do you want to close this off before we get on to our main feature topics?
Yes. Yeah. So this is another, once again, 80s horror movie I've been a big fan of, that I recently discovered and was a very big fan of. Trying to pull it up here so I get all the details right. Okay. So this is a weird one because it is related to a couple of things that we just talked about, in that it was directed by Stephen Carpenter and Jeffrey Obrow, but Stephen Carpenter is a guy who directed The Soul Survivors with Alicia Dushku, that you just mentioned.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of similar in plot to the Suckling that Boozy talked about. So it's called The
Damn.
Kindred from 1987.
Oh yeah, baby. I've seen
Yes.
this.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. So this movie is about a man who is a doctor, and he discovers on his mother's deathbed that he has a brother. So he goes to his mother's house to like close out her things because she just passed away, and also try to figure out who this brother of his is. And his brother is named Anthony and is essentially a lab experiment that was created from his own DNA.
Test tube baby. Test tube
That's
baby.
right.
Tube
So
baby.
like, it's kind of like in the small little subgenre with like Basket Case
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Malignant and maybe
Yes.
The Suckling as well. This is a really, really fun movie. So I actually think the characters are not half bad here. You got like a whole collection of people that are all staying at this house. They're all weirdly good looking, almost like they're a CW cast, but not quite.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird for the 1980s, but it's actually pretty well made. It looks great. The special effects are out of this world. Like if you just want to watch 80s practical monster effects, man, this movie is going to throw them at you constantly. And I just thought it was a blast. It's got so many gross, gooey monster stuff, like stuff going up people's noses and going around their head. It's a
Yes.
wild one. I really enjoyed this movie a lot.
Boozy, have you seen this movie?
It's on
No.
my list, and I've been waiting.
Yeah.
But it's wild that you put, because I was toying with watching it yesterday. But
Oh, that's crazy.
And
yeah,
yeah, it has such an epic poster, which I remember because I'm pretty sure it's based off a book. And I remember seeing the book
Is it really?
in the library. Yeah. But it's a baby bottle with like a little, like, it looks like the like Brundlefly inside of it.
Yeah.
But the tagline is the best part is Anthony didn't ask to be brought into this world.
true. I can really relate to that
For those of
on
you
a
who don't,
personal level.
for those of you who don't know, Boozy's real name is Anthony. It's Anthony Booziak.
That's right.
It's true.
A lot of people don't know your real first name.
You're
I
really
kinda
gonna
like
relate to
that
this
I just-
movie.
Yeah, I feel I kind of enjoy just being like the prince of this podcast. I also
Yeah.
will mention, because I did recently talk about it, Daniel, since you're on an 80s kick, please watch Scarecrows from 1988.
You know what's funny is I actually bought it on digital like not long ago, and I haven't watched it yet.
Oh man, so worth it.
I got to get around to it for sure, man.
Yeah, I'm feeling maybe it's going to be an 80s horror weekend. I haven't had one of those in a while.
It's a good time. It's a good time. Hey, though, before we move on, is it okay if I ask you guys a question?
Of
Yes.
course.
I've been wondering about this because this
Circumcised.
podcast. Yeah, no, I've heard about that.
Ditto.
No, but this podcast is
They're
the
divorced.
reason.
Sorry.
Ditto.
Okay, crossing what happened to Mitch's parents off my
Yeah.
list. Okay, next question down. No, this podcast is the reason that I discovered this group, and you guys haven't talked about it. So I was wondering what you guys thought of the new Ghost album, Impera.
Oh, I love it. I love Impera. Boozy's not much of a Ghost fan though. Hey, you don't really-
I'm trying to think, like the last song I really liked by them was Square Hammer.
oh wow,
okay. That was a while
That was a
ago.
while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, you know what? I totally understand where they went, and I did try and check out some of the singles from their newest stuff, but yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Even the Halloween Kills song.
Yeah, the song Hunter's Moon. It's a hunter's moon. It's so good. Yeah, no, I love that album. And it's like every other Ghost album. It grows on me every time I listen to it. I was actually having a conversation about this yesterday with my ex-girlfriend who's on the show, Morgan, because she's a huge Ghost fan as well. And she was saying that she's like, yeah, this is probably my favorite Ghost album. I'm like, that's crazy talk. But that's just how it works, man. You just like different Ghost songs get in your head and you just kind of get obsessive with it.
What's your
And
favorite
it-
Ghost album then?
That it changes all the time, but like I really loved Prequel. And yeah, no, but Infestissimum was my favorite for a while. But I don't know, it's tough. It changes every day. Changes
Sure,
every day.
yeah.
Impera could very much end up being. What do you think of it?
I really like it. Prequel is my favorite Ghost album, and it might have something to do with the fact that that was their new album when I discovered them.
Yeah.
But I really like this new album. I think my only thing with it is I think it's less spooky and Halloweeny than like Prequel is. It feels a little bit more like a tribute to like 80s hair metal in
It's
general, and a little bit less horror-y.
yeah,
But it's fun as hell. I listen to it a lot. It's one of my
Yeah.
main things that I listen to these days. So I think there's so like Spillways is such
Yeah,
a
so good.
bop. Like it's so catchy and fun. So yeah,
But-
I really like it a lot.
And see, that's the thing though, is like that's the genius of Ghost, and they're knowingly doing that. Like they're getting progressively, like people are saying that they're selling out. It's like that's the joke. Like that's what they've been going for, is that like they have these like they get progressively poppier and poppier each album, and the whole act gets crazier and crazier. And it's like they're reaching like it's such a piece of performance art in and of itself, as like their whole band, that they're like making really the fact that Square Hammer is on the radio is hilarious. Like they like because like they're writing these songs, all of their songs are still satanic and about like the dark arts and everything, and it's amazing. But they're doing exactly what like people who hate Ghost are missing, like hating them because they say that they're starting to be poppy and everything. It's like that is the point of what they're going
I would
for.
argue they've always been poppy, because even like Ritual from their first album, it practically sounds like a Beatles song, like other than the Our Father Who Art in Hell little bridge. But it's like it's so breezy and fun, like skipping through a meadow about a satanic ritual or something.
Yeah, no, it's
so
amazing.
Fun.
I will say my favorite Ghost song is fairly recent, and that's from their 7 Inches of Satanic Panic, Mary on a Cross. I love that song so much.
Good. Yeah, I love that little two song EP there.
It's awesome. But yeah, no, I'm happy to hear. I didn't even think of that I haven't even mentioned the new Ghost album, and usually I talk about that on whenever they release a new album on the show. So yeah, great album. Love it.
Can I just say, in the vein of masked men and music, I'm going to see Slipknot this week, so I can't wait for them to play hits like Last Resort.
Don't. I fucking love Slipknot. Are you actually going to Slipknot though?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fuck yeah. No,
I'm pretty stoked for it. It'll be cool.
Slipknot. Yeah, I like debatably top 3 favorite bands. I
think it's super fun is that they're one of those, not to make this like a music podcast all of a sudden, but they're one of those bands that like even fringe people who are interested in them are gonna go see, because it's like, dude, you have to go see them. I don't want to go see them when they're like 70. Like I want to see them now.
That's the problem though, is like that. And I know like their current drummer is amazing too, even though he's kind of a dink. But Joey Jordison being out, whatever. Okay, yeah, we can't even get onto this, but Slipknot's my like bucket list band, and I should be seeing them, but it's expensive to live out in Vancouver.
Everything and it's expensive
so
to fucking see Slipknot.
Yeah, that's a big stadium show. Cool. Well, I hope you have fun. That's going to be awesome. Hopefully Corey Taylor goes on a rant about Justin Bieber and things he shouldn't care about. But yeah, do you want to get on to our main feature? So we have reached our main feature presentation, where we're going to be talking about 3 Crocodile films, starting with Blackwater from 2007.
Holidays. Sure beats being in the office.
You want to do some fishing? I can take you out. The best time to fish. With all the extra water around, it's pretty lively on the river.
Is that why you bought a gun? What was that?
It's a fucking croc.
Get out! Get out of the water now!
So, this is a movie that, like many other horror movies of this ilk claim, is based on a true story. And I actually looked it up. The true story is pretty close to what happens in the film. I will say there's going to be spoilers here. We're going to talk about these movies openly. They are Crocodile movies, and I'm not meaning to write them off as like lesser art or something like that, but what I'm meaning by that is that like these are meant to be fun or intense or scary, and you will be able to still enjoy them if you haven't seen them and hear us talk about them at length. But Blackwater is a terrifying tale of survival in the mangrove swamps of northern Australia. So it's set around three people who their boat tips and they end up in a tree in the mangrove swamp, and they are circled by a crocodile. This movie, you guys, let's hear. Oh yeah, sorry, it was written and directed by Andrew Traucki, and it was co-written and directed by David Nerlich. But this movie went on to, there's a sequel from a couple years ago called Blackwater Abyss. That was, oh wow, 2020. That seemed like it was so much longer ago, but I guess the last couple of years don't count.
I'm gonna rewatch that one because I remember liking it.
Yeah, and he also, Andrew Traucki was the writer director behind the divisive shark film The Reef, which I consider one of the better shark films. It is like this like The Reef and Blackwater, they're very similar in a lot of ways, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. Like they're very more so realistic takes on, and more contained, smaller, secluded survival tales. And it's something that I really enjoy about them. They're not about seeing the creature, they're not about the wild kills, they're more so about the survival elements of the horror. And this is, obviously, we've talked about it ad nauseum, something Boozy and I really love. We always, whenever we get dumped, we talk about monster movie or like nature run amok films. So this is, and like by dumped we mean Diego and Kyle.
Yeah,
so
I think
now
it's because we want to like envision them being torn apart by all these different animals for leaving us. We're not scorned in any way.
Or it's like we feel like we're left in the bush in the middle of the mangrove swamp to fight for our lives because they've abandoned us. Boozy, do you want to share your quick thoughts on Blackwater?
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about Blackwater itself and then within the context of all the other movies we've watched, because I feel like we have to talk about the fact that these all came out the exact same year.
Yeah.
So one on the other side of that, I'd like to say that 2007, a fairly goated year. That's pretty sweet. Also, didn't Croc come out this year as well? The one that we said we were going to do and then we didn't.
Yeah. See, I thought I got it mixed. So yeah, there's 4 Crocodile movies that came out in 2007. And I'm not
must
about.
Have been something in the water that around that.
Yeah.
What came out right before that would inspire all that? I'm trying to think, like, because it can't be Lake Placid.
No. And yeah, I guess let's wheel it back here a little bit. Daniel, thoughts on Crocodile films in general? Like let's get a feel of let's get a feel of where you're at in terms of these nature run amok films, specifically crocodile, sharks, you name it.
Maybe some bears.
I like them overall. Like my second favorite movie of all time is Jaws. So, you know, that's the granddaddy of the genre for me, but it's also the granddaddy of the genre for pretty much everybody. And I tend to like Jaws ripoffs. So like Grizzly or stuff like that. A lot of movies that came out right around that time. And I do like shark movies in general. Actually, you two are partially responsible for like re-sparking my love for shark movies, because
I love that
you did this episode a few years ago on Bait and Shark Night.
That was our breakup episode.
Ironically enough.
For some reason, when you announced that, I decided to play along. So I watched both of those before your episode came out.
At least someone did.
I loved Bait, and Shark Night was fine, but Bait is really, really fun. And yeah, when it comes to Gator movies, like, you know, I'm going to talk about Gator and Croc movies interchangeably because I don't want to worry about the difference. I don't think any of them are listening, so I don't think they'll be too offended.
I hope not.
I love Crawl. Crawl was like a revelation for me when I saw it in theaters. And I sadly not rewatched it. I need to, but yeah, I absolutely went nuts for it in theaters. It's like the Jaws of Croc movies to me. But I also, Lake Placid is a lot of fun. I also, within the past year or so, watched Alligator from 1980 with Robert Forster, which I didn't love. And I feel like I need to rewatch it now that it's on HD, because it was kind of a crappy version.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you gotta just imagine being a child and seeing that and imagining a crocodile
I really
in your
like
pool.
that one.
there's
The
some, there's some-
crocodile in the pool.
yeah, there's some big wild crocodile attacks in that movie for sure. And there's, a sexy Robert Forster. So there's
Yes.
definitely things to recommend about alligator. But yeah, this researching for this podcast was like my deepest dive into the gator croc genre ever. And it was for the most part a good time. And I really realized more than ever, crocodiles are absolutely terrifying. Like
Yes.
it's crazy how terrifying that they are and that they actually exist. And
They're just dinosaurs that are around us now.
yeah, and I had to Google, like, is this size for saltwater crocodiles accurate? And it seems to be. They can
Yep.
grow like 20-25 feet.
Yeah.
They're big boys, big flat fucks.
I mean, not even that.
Not
flat, 'cause
only
they're
did you
so
find
tall.
not only did you find movies that you enjoyed, you also found information. You got informative about this.
I
So with
did,
that out of
I
the
did.
way, the age-old question: would you rather fight a crocodile or a bear?
I
I had an hour and a half debate about this last night.
I hear you, because I'm a listener of the podcast, as you can tell. I hear you ask guests this, and I feel like, not to call anybody out, but I feel like a lot of guests answer this incorrectly because they tend to take it by which animal is most likely or least likely to attack you. And I feel like the question is you're getting attacked no matter what.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
that's
it's like,
exactly it.
what are you gonna do?
So I think about this. I think I'm going to pick the crocodile for two reasons. One, I feel like I'm more interested in seeing a crocodile out in the wild than a bear. I think it would be cooler to see one. So at least I get to see something cool right before I die.
Before you die, yeah.
Because I think I'm
fair.
dying. I'm dying either way.
Yeah,
But
done.
also, I think I would rather get chomped by a crocodile than get torn to shreds by a bear.
yeah. That's a tough call.
I think it's like the bite ratio is what you're going for.
Yeah, like, I think there's a good chance crocodile's
yeah.
gonna kill me in one.
Think about the
chomp.
death
I
roll,
get it.
though. Imagine imagine that thing chomping its jaws down on you and doing the death roll, like what crocodiles do, where they just fucking spin around.
Imagine they're inside your right-hand drive Mitsubishi in the back seat, and it's gonna spin, and for some reason that's okay.
Yeah, no, they're terrifying. They're terrifying beasts. They both suck. Like yeah, obviously there's no correct answer here because you're gonna die either way. But I don't know. Yeah, Boozy, I think you're also, you'd rather fight a crocodile.
I think so. Yeah, I think he's right. Now that you're putting that into perspective, the bite to circumference ratio of like what's going to kill me faster. I agree with that.
And I will say I have never seen. I love crocodile movies. Spoiler alert, obviously. But I have never seen a crocodile attack more vicious than the bear attack in Backcountry.
Or
that-
I was thinking about the Revenant too.
Yeah, that one's pretty savage too. They just okay, yeah. So either way, they're all monsters. They're terrifying.
Would you guys like some quick gator facts before we get going?
Yeah, hit us with the gator facts.
Well, okay. First off, do you guys even know what the difference between a gator and a crocodile is?
I do.
Oh, I know
when
the round nose.
when a crocodile has its mouth closed, you can still see its teeth, and an alligator, you can't see its teeth.
That is, both you guys are partially right. Yes, it's because also of the shape of their nose. One's a U
That's all-
shape and a
yeah.
crocodile is a V shaped. So yes,
Mhm.
you're both correct, and it's got the pointy things to it. Also, crocodiles are usually bigger and more aggressive than gators. So naturally, they make for the superior film villain.
That makes sense, because you hear like people in like Louisiana or something talk about how an alligator got into their kitchen, and
Yeah.
that with a crocodile, you think that would be much worse.
So do you think that kind of makes it seem like gators are more mischievous than villainous? Like it's like, oh darn, like a raccoon.
Well, if you
it's the
think about,
equivalent.
well, that's what so Crawl is a gator movie.
I thought
And-
so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then crocodile movies is like stuff like Lake Placid, Dark Age, Blood Surf, which was a movie Boozy talked about. I was looking for that the other night. I actually wanted to watch Blood Surf.
Amazing poster.
That's a good
Yeah.
title.
Yeah, it's a wicked poster. And big shout out to a movie that does not get the respect it deserves, The Pool. The Pool fucking
heard about
rules.
that.
I should go back and finish it. Honestly, I should.
So many people, everyone I talk to hates it, except for like John Allison. He's my pool homie. But that movie is fucking ridiculous and so much fun. And it's the only movie that kills a dog where I'm kind of okay with it because
Is
it's
it still on
fucking hilarious.
Shudder?
Probably. Yeah, I think it's on Shudder. But Daniel, if you're writing that down, I'm so sorry, because like this is a movie that I've had a lot of people be like, why the fuck did you tell me to watch that?
No, I actually I was thinking about watching it anyway because I was researching this genre, and a lot of people I follow on Letterboxd gave that movie very high ratings.
Okay,
However,
good.
Our boy Matt Bledsoe gave it 1 star. So
I believe it.
there you go.
It's a divisive movie, I understand, but there's some moments in that I was jumping on the couch being like, what the fuck am I watching? And yeah, I loved it. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough to choose like a best. Well, that's going to be a spoiler. We'll talk about best Crocodile movies after we're done this, because I feel like at least one of these would crack that list. But all right, yeah, so we got, do you have any more Gator facts you want to talk about, Boozy?
I just only grabbed a couple, so I'm Gator fact outed already.
Can I ask, have either of you ever seen a gator or a croc in real life?
Yeah.
Nice.
When I went to Florida.
I've seen some in Florida too.
And like I've seen ones in Florida that were just fucking massive, and they're terrifying. But what I haven't seen in person is how fast they can be, and that's something that we see a lot of. And specifically, well, I guess Primeval, that thing's ripping around like crazy. but like
maybe not the best like example.
It has no weight; it's almost floating around.
It's like that thing. Oh man, yeah, it is wild. But no, yeah, I have, and they're terrifying. But I've never seen them actually like move really, really fast, which is obviously something they're capable of doing. What about you?
I would be thankful for that. No, I have not. I was trying to think if I'd at least seen one at a zoo, and I don't think I have. So that's to add on the bucket list right there.
Yeah, they are beautiful creatures, though. Like I just love looking at them.
That's why you have a handbag made of one.
Yes. And what?
You love it so much, you gotta
alligator handbag. Okay, yeah. I thought, yeah.
Don't forget the shoes.
The Crocs, yep. Okay. All right, let's talk about Blackwater here. So I'll just lead us off here and say that this film came out it was during the time while I was working at Rogers Video in Saskatoon. I was a high school student, and I would watch every single animal attacks film or corny B movie that came onto the shelf. I would watch it because we were allowed to like take them to the back on our breaks, and there's some times where you could just watch 30 minutes of a movie and then go back on your next break and you keep watching it. That's just what people did. But I remember being like Blackwater, and this was I don't know if you guys have seen, because there's a couple posters for this. One of them is, I think, actually really solid. That's the one that I used on our post. I think that poster's fine, but there's one poster that's really egregious, and it's like, that was the DVD box art. And I remember seeing this and being like, what the fuck is this? Like, I thought, I was like, this looks awful. I'm going to watch it right now.
You're like, that's it. I'm going to watch Ice Spiders instead.
I did. Ice Spiders was one of the movies that I watched around this time. Yes. But Blackwater, man, this one caught me so off guard, because I was 17 years old when I was watching it, and it hooked me right in. And I remember like renting it out after my shift. Like, I didn't even watch it over my breaks. I just took it home after my shift that night, and I watched it, and I loved it. And I still really do appreciate this film for what it is. It's one of those ones, much like the Reef 2, where I guess he's making a sequel for the Reef, actually, that's happening right now. But these are the types of movies that they don't necessarily reward repeat viewings, because they're very, like, in times they're slower, more in line with like the drama behind the characters and how they're going to escape. Like, kind of like, you don't go and reach for open water all the time. That shark movie, like, it's very effective the first time you see it. But this is one that it's a slow but tense build. It goes for the Steven Spielberg less is more approach, where they really decide what to show you and what not to show you. And I think that those are all like the core strengths of the film. And but I think you need to be a fan of these types of survival movies, and I totally get why some people wouldn't be, because this is very, very different than Rogue or Primeval, both other movies that came out the same year. But I just, like, if there's one real negative I have to say about this, I genuinely feel bad for the crocodile at the end. Like, I hate seeing them get put to sleep. Like, there's that meme where dropping the rose on the dead carcass. Sorry, what's that, Busy?
I was gonna say we did mention Crawl real quick here. Crawl fucking stole their ending from this movie.
I don't know if they stole anything.
They
and
did the
it's-
exact same gun thing, which apparently is the only way you kill a crocodile.
Yeah,
A good one though.
Yeah, it's a good way. But yeah, no, I don't know. I really like this movie. I just it's grating at times because it is just, you know, you're watching characters. It's low budget filmmaking, and I think they did a really good job with it. But like I said, can totally understand, especially going back to it. I can understand why this would not be everyone's bag. So this is one that I think it's effective. So that's me. Daniel, let's hear your thoughts on Blackwater.
I liked Blackwater. I thought the setup was interesting in that at the beginning they're at some kind of wildlife exhibit and crocodiles are a tourist attraction essentially. And I thought that was some interesting foreshadowing on how all that's going to turn against them. The movie does some really, really quick shortcutting to care about these characters and that one of them is pregnant. So that right away tells us, oh, okay, we really do not want these people to die because she's pregnant and we want the dad to be around and blah, blah, blah. And then I had watched this movie after Rogue, so not to jump ahead too much, but it was funny how it starts out like a much smaller version of Rogue in that we're on a vacation. Let's hire this guy to take us down this Australian river. I feel like it's kind of weird to like go on a fishing trip with just some stranger just because you need him to like row you out there. I don't know that I probably wouldn't do that personally, but
that's horror movie logic.
I guess. I don't know if people want to do that. Like, let's just hire this rando to row us down the river.
If the other alternative, like, I mean, I would definitely be interested going somewhere to see a bunch of random crocs. So I feel like I would rather hire somebody who maybe knows what they're doing versus just like me going to find out myself, because it will not end well.
Sure. I'm probably just antisocial. I think that's just where that's coming from.
I don't know. I understand that whole culture of like paying people to like, even like hunting, like people do that where they'll pay somebody to like take them somewhere so they can shoot something in the fucking face. Not that I'm for that, but like that's a whole industry thing. So I totally understand that idea of hiring a random dude with a boat.
They go about that in a this very similar way in Rogue, but it's like see that I would be more.
It's more of an attraction in Rogue. This one
I'd be more so inclined to get on that boat, like the big boat with a bunch of other people, rather than
it has handrails.
Yeah. But that's also what makes this one like scarier in some ways.
Once it gets into things and they're stuck up in the tree, it was a movie that grew on me after a while. Like I think in the beginning I was kind of feeling the pace of it, the deliberate pace. I really did not like the guy, either the actor or the character. I found him particularly grating in the way that I thought his plan was terrible and that he immediately wants to get back into the water and go back to the boat. And he's so snotty to the two girls who were like, I think that's a bad idea. I don't think we should do that. He's just like, oh, you idiots.
Yeah.
I think actually the movie grew on me more after he dies. And I know that sounds mean, but
it's also an epic death. Like that's what I love so much. That's what I love so much about this one, opposed to Abyss, like the sequel, is that I really love the less is more approach for something like this, and only showing, like just certain parts of the crocodile, and like you said, like they do like close-ups and stuff like that to toy with it and make it look really realistic. And I think for the most part it succeeds in all of that.
Well, I mean, it uses the less is more for a really good reason, in that I think of the three of these movies, I think this is the only one that doesn't have a CGI crocodile.
Yeah, this is 100% just an actual crocodile.
Yeah, it's real. So that less is more wasn't like kind of just a suspense strategy. There's
they had to do it. Yeah.
I also like the idea of when the croc hops in the boat after that girl, that they literally had to toss that thing after her because you kind of just see it fly into the boat.
Yeah. It looks great though. Like the croc looks super good in this thing.
That's also a marvel. Like I can't help but think back to when we shout out to Adam McDonald way back when we talked to him about Backcountry, but talking about using actual bears and that whole process of trying to film horror with that. So I can imagine the process of trying to film something that can randomly just decide to like camouflage itself underwater. Just the idea, like how much had to go through with this to be made, is a marvel in itself.
Yep. No, it's really inventive. And that, it's, sorry, I don't even know where I was getting at there. Just had a
No, it's
major brain fart.
That's okay. Daniel, do you have more?
Well, just that, like we're all saying that, like, I think the most impressive thing about the movie is the editing. And that I know for the most part, these actors are not sharing a space with a crocodile, but they've edited the shots together so well that it feels like they are. And that was just really, really nice, because you can only watch CGI monsters for so long before you want to see something that's more tangible. And I understand that a practical crocodile is not very feasible. I mean, they did it in Alligator in 1980, but that effect has a real charm to it, but it probably wouldn't work for a movie like this. So they did that really, really well. And I think like it's a movie that builds well, because while I was not feeling it towards the beginning more so, I thought the intensity built pretty well. And Mitch, I think you make a really good point about the kind of lack of rewatchability factor, because I haven't seen The Reef, but the movie that this made me think of was The Shallows, in that it's about a person, or in this case 3 people, just kind of standing somewhere not able to move because there's a killer animal in the water. And The Shallows is a movie I loved in the theaters, and I've never rewatched it, and I don't know if I ever will, just because it's that one suspense experience that's so great, and then you kind of leave it there. But I don't know if Crawl's going to be that way, because Crawl has a lot of sequences I want to rewatch.
I've seen Crawl 5 times.
Crawl does a lot more things and goes a lot of different places.
It does,
to its credit.
Crawl is amazing. It's just, to me, this one was just a big surprise, and I think it might be a diamond in the rough for people who are into this kind of stuff. And if you haven't seen Blackwater, I think it's definitely one that you should be checking out if you're interested in these types of films at all. Boozy, what are your thoughts on Blackwater?
So first, I want to give credit to Blackwater for passing something called the girlfriend test we've used over the years in podcasting. And it's whether your girlfriend has anything to say about the film that you're watching while you're watching it. And my girlfriend very much enjoyed this film and was very invested, to the point of like edge of her seat, as people continuously got into the water to try and do things with the boat. And I've seen this film before, and I honestly was also invested. Obviously, like you guys have both mentioned, it does a lot of things on a smaller scale compared to the things we've watched, but even to itself, it's just a boat. It's basically about people getting knocked out of a boat and having to climb into a tree. That's 90% of the and I think there's a great scene, implication of death, which you find out about later, with the boat being rocked upside down. They do kind of a similar shot or idea in Blackwater Abyss, from what I remember. So I'm going to check that out again to come back on that. But overall, I think Blackwater is a ton of fun, because it seems it's the most natural of all of them. I feel like everything they do in this film is more of a survivalist take. If you kind of want to look at it compared to the other films, this film feels like just a movie of I Shouldn't Be Alive. If you guys have ever seen that TV show, where it's just like extreme scenarios people have been put through and that they shouldn't have made it. This is just like a full telling of this as a film. And I kind of love that idea of it. It's the most raw of the 3, just in definition, because of that.
Yeah, I like those, and raw is a very good way to put it. And like I love those types of stories.
And the one other thing I'll give it big credit for is a very cool scene that you don't see anything, but it's how they deal with it. It's when they have to sleep, or they're stuck in the tree overnight, and they have to listen to the one guy being chewed on, like the body being torn apart. It's something small like that, where they literally barely show you anything, because they'll hit you with a flash of light, but then it's what you're hearing, and it's how they're reacting to it.
Okay, so Open Water does predate this, because I was going to say, like, that's the number one thing I remember from Open Water to the original, not to Adrift. But like,
let's not talk about it.
I kind of get sucked down below the water overnight, and the crashes of lightning. It's really effective. And yeah, it's very much like, if you like Open Water and you haven't seen Blackwater, like, it's very similar. I would say that Blackwater I find it even more intense than Open Water, but yeah.
I have a girlfriend test point as well, except in my case it's a wife test. So the majority of the time,
look at him. I'm
I'm so
married.
sorry.
Married.
Just
Married right out of college. that
someone
guy.
loves me.
So the vast majority of the time when I'm watching a movie, my wife is on the couch either watching it with me or reading a book. And in this
But
case,
she's peripherally listening though, right?
Yeah, in this
Is that
case,
like
she's-
she'll be like, what did that character say?
well, not always, but in this case, so she discovered from just sitting next to me reading a book that she is terrified of crocodile movies and she doesn't want me to watch them around her, which is funny because she's normally impossible to scare with horror movies. I'll show her horror movies specifically just to scare her and it never works. But yeah, she doesn't want me to watch crocodile movies around her because it freaks her out too much, which I thought was kind of cool. I thought that was an endorsement of these movies.
What about Gator did or Crocs specifically, or is she just like overall like
They're
I
real.
don't like
They're real, even though like so many like
they're
this
too
movie's
real
not-
for her.
Well, no, that's how I am too. Like I can watch supernatural shit till my eyes bleed and it won't bother me at all. But like and I know we've talked about this movie so much on the podcast, but it's a part of this conversation is Backcountry really fucking bothered me when I saw it, and it's because that like it can happen. And like, but the thing is though, like these movies, not Blackwater, but the other ones we're going to talk about, they're so much more outlandish than like, you know, like lots of times these things wouldn't even do these things. The shark in Jaws, Bruce wouldn't fucking do what he does. He travels to the fucking Bahamas in the fourth one or whatever, wherever they go. Like the fact that the shark has a vengeance on Brody's whole family is fucking
This time
crazy.
it's personal.
Exactly. But it's like, but there's something about it that's just so much more realistic. And I think Blackwater is, yeah, by far takes the realism award out of the three of these.
I also like that
absolutely.
the Croc is vengeful just for like the simple fact that it's in there, that they're in its territory.
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
not
have
just
a
like,
complicated backstory like you
Yeah.
ran it over with a boat and has
No,
the
or
scars
like-
to prove it.
we'll get to Primeval, but like that thing was just hungry. That thing, like it didn't, its appetite did not end. But yeah, no, that's great. I'm happy that we could help Steph find her a new fear.
true
of
fear.
hers.
I
Yeah.
really want to show her crawl now. I really
Yeah.
want to make that happen somehow.
You should.
I'm gonna
So is
try.
she
I'm
okay
gonna
with
try.
sharks, shark movies?
Um,
But
I think the only shark movie we've ever watched together was Jaws, and she just didn't like that movie because it's too many men and not enough women. So I don't know. Guess the jury's out on shark movies.
Man, I really am a piece of shit with Jaws and The Thing being like two of my favorite movies.
I mean, I introduced it to her as like, this is one of my favorite movies of all time, and she was
Yeah.
not about it, and I was like shocked. It was the first time I ever found out that a human being could not like Jaws. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. No, that makes sense. She could probably read the book then, because there's more of Brody's wife's subplot where they completely cut out in the film.
Okay. She's
But-
the biggest reader I know, so I might be able to push her into reading it.
I'd be curious to hear what she thinks of it, because yeah, a lot of people, like a lot of Jaws purists, hate that book, and that's a discussion for a whole other day. I like both of them, but well, I love one of them. All right, do you guys want to talk about Primeval?
No, but let's do it.
All right, I think. Oh man, I'm curious.
In one of the most remote locations on Earth lives the world's most prolific serial killer. He has claimed over 300 victims. He is elusive, intelligent, cunning. And to this day, he remains at large.
Looks to be another mass grave.
He is real, but he is not human. Primeval, inspired by a true story.
So Primeval it was directed by the second AD on La Bamba and Predator.
Oh,
which
La
is pretty
Bamba is
crazy.
like one of my dad's favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
this guy has a strange filmography.
Yeah. So yeah, directed by Michael Kettleman, who, like I said, yeah, and he directed and executive produced that new Cowboy Bebop show that the world freaked out about. I know nothing
yeah.
about Cowboy Bebop, so I can't even weigh in on that.
Was everyone
Um,
freaking out because it got whitewashed? I'm assuming.
No, it didn't actually.
No, because
that seems to be like what
Just
everyone
because-
gets mad about.
According to my giant anime loving friend, it's pretty cheap and corny.
Speaking of kind of cheap and corny, Primeval. This is a movie that was like a big deal for me in 2007. This was the one that like it was coming to the theater. The last time I'd seen a crocodile in a theater, alligator or crocodile, whatever, was Lake Placid, which I love. I absolutely love that movie. Rest in peace, Betty White. Man, the opening of Primeval is edited like a Tony Scott film. I don't know if you noticed that, Daniel, because I know both of us have watched quite a bit of Tony Scott over the last year. But it's just fucking unleashed. This movie is just fucking bonkers, and it's wild. I think the credits, like they're straight out of the David Fincher handbook. Like I don't know if you guys
Girl with the
relate.
dragon tattoo.
Well, that and even like fucking Seven, like that was stuff that was just like the whole opening credits of Seven was like groundbreaking at the time, and then so many people tried copying it, and yeah, I don't know. Oh god. Primeval. Boozy, do you want to tell us the story of Primeval? Like what's the background on this film?
Okay, so Primeval has this movie had the most backstory to it going into the 2007 year of Crocs, because this one is actually based off of a specific crocodile,
which they dub as a serial killer. Gustav, the serial killer. They call the crocodile a serial killer in the movie.
So yeah, there's this big ass fucking, he actually exists, this big ass fucking crocodile called fucking Gustav, and however much of this is actually true is all lore, like him being like a serial killer, like killing 100 people or whatever, but it's just a croc who benefited off of a civil war to eat bodies that are in the water and just got really fat for it. There's actually a documentary which this movie takes a bunch of the ideas of it to make this film. The documentary is called Capturing the Killer Croc. I actually watched it this year, and it's pretty interesting. Like
I bet
a lot of
that's
this
better.
Yeah,
yes.
I bet that's better.
Which they actually, the cool part is they actually do have some actual footage of Gustav in that, so it's not like he is just a word of mouth legend. They actually do show that he exists, and
Nice.
the stuff with the cage in Primeval with the goat and everything is actually based off of something that did happen in Capturing the Killer Croc.
Debatably the best part of the movie.
But like basically the whole idea of like the goat and everything and the pheromones, and even down to like the goat disappeared. They don't know if it escaped or whatever, but the camera also, the feed got broken, so they don't know. So that was kind of a whole part of it. They kind of ripped that idea for this movie.
Is the documentary also led by Dominic Purcell?
It is not. What is that?
Missed opportunity?
Yeah, Blade Trinity, baby. He's the
Isn't
bad
he
guy.
Dracula in that?
Yep, he's Dracula in Blade Trinity. He's in Prison Break.
That's
he
right.
He has
Prison
the
Break.
biggest melon head ever. we were talking about with Sean. I remember for the last episode, I kind of mentioned like weird 2000 male leads that were supposed to be attractive but aren't. And I feel like this dude was one of those dudes they shoveled in.
And then the other one is in Rogue, Sam Worthington.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's actually like a attractive dude though.
Okay, well, up for debate. Like both of those
when he's in the
stanzas.
Na'vi body, he's attractive.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this film had a cool idea for lore based on a super cool monster they could have built up around, and honestly, if they could have also went in a direction of having kind of a political thing to say, because this film had a lot of stakes in terms of
I think they
actual-
tried really hard. Yeah, they tried really hard.
Just listen to where I'm going before you get all upset. Yeah, so they had all these things that they could work with, and they just kind of made a weird jelly coated action movie that just happens to have a crocodile in it, which is really unfortunate. I remember thinking I liked this movie like years ago. It's not, even the effects aren't that great, and whoever decided that one scene of the croc darkly lit eating a guy was going to be one of the cover arts for it, when it's like a mash of dark and CGI mush.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It doesn't look good. Like the CGI doesn't. No,
It doesn't make sense. Little Gustav. It feels like all of the stuff that they have with like the Civil War that they could have made some sort of statement for is played off for laughs. Like they just joke about like the one kid who really wants to come to America the whole time. It's like, yeah, of course he fucking does.
Like that was a next level. And I know I'm not the demographic to comment on this, but I think it's bad enough when like someone like me who can notice how rough it is that this was written by a white guy. Because like some of the lines in this are just fucking terrible. And like how there's the one line about how he's happy that slavery was real because that's how he got to America.
Yeah, because he got on the Mayflower.
Orlando Jones say that, and like my jaw hit the floor.
Oh man, yeah, it's brutal. And another line that the movie does actually, it follows beat for beat Jaws for the first like half an hour of the movie, just in different settings and everything, but like with they're going for the same story beats and everything, and like how they're and also same with kind of like Anaconda, where they're going out on the expedition to do this like
it's the hunt for the mega beast. It's like Creature from the Black Lagoon even. Like.
Yeah. And Orlando Jones is so like he's awesome, and it's so rough watching him in this movie because he's given dog shit to work with. Like it's the writing that's really bad. And I know that you shouldn't be watching movies like Primeval for the writing, but when they try so hard to make that political statement, it's rough and it hurts, and it's exhausting to watch, and just the frantic energy of the editing, it's an exhausting movie to watch.
It wants I don't really know
what I'm supposed to be following at any point.
It wants to be an action movie so badly, but its only sense of action is either you're shooting at a crocodile or it's just like militia killing other people, like villagers, because you can't really have much of your cast. Like some of them do eventually get shot, but you can't have your cast get wiped out. So they just take a lot of pleasure in shoot. I did not need to see the shaman and his wife get shot in the head. It was a lot. Like we get it. They're getting killed. They go really. Oh no, he gets his head cut off. She gets shot. But they show so much of it, and it's not for any sort of impact politically. It's just to be like, oh, cool, blood and guts. I don't know. It's painful. This kind of does seem like a machismo predator wannabe that just sucks. Like even where they're like things will explode and then they'll all like laugh like they're in a buddy cop movie. It's just very infuriating.
Oh yeah, and even Orlando Jones, like the trope that obviously it's what movies are, and lots of these movies are guilty of this, especially one of our favorites, Boozy, Deep Blue Sea, does this a lot. But the thing is, Deep Blue Sea has its tongue firmly planted in its cheek the whole time, and it knows exactly what it's doing. This one feels like it's trying to be serious, like it has to be trying to be serious with the subject matter they're covering. But in the way, like what I was talking about with Jaws, is how Jaws gave us that iconic quote, "You're going to need a bigger boat," but Primeval gave us the quote, "You brought a regular condom, we need a magnum." That's a line that someone okayed. God, Orlando Jones has to say all of the worst shit in this movie.
My other favorite line in this, and it also just shows how egregiously sexist the movie is towards the one female character. But the female reporter says something about the journalism or blah blah blah, and Dominic Purcell looks at her and he says, "Where'd you learn that? Modeling school?"
Oh man, yeah, I wrote.
Which is funny because he looks exactly as much like a model as she does, and like,
where'd you learn that? Fart school
more than she is.
Oh man, yeah, I forgot. I knew that was gonna come up. Fuck, what? Oh, it's just dog shit.
And the only thing they care about from her is, "Are you sleeping with our boss?"
Yeah. I know.
And then the commentary about homophobia. As soon as they find out their boss is gay, they have like the best time in the world roasting him.
Yeah, no, it's wild. And sorry, my brain, I'm going everywhere.
I can't even keep track of all of the ways this movie is offensive. Like it's just
I think just the most frustrating part, I have to reiterate, is that they had Gustav. They could have done so much with this he's such a side character in this that just like goes away. Basically, just
so much money went
him.
To the wrong areas. So much money went to the wrong. But I think that everything about this is pretty much a failure. Like it's It's not
And like
good.
with films like this, I know like you'd mentioned Anaconda because that fits in all these like monster attack films.
Yeah,
And
masterpiece.
exactly. And I mentioned a lot of
Exactly.
these attack movies. It's frustrating when you have a human become a villain for a while too, because it takes away of like the whole grandness of this whole thing is that there's this giant Gustav or whatever, but it just kind of goes into more of them fighting little Gustav and dealing with all that, which takes away from it. Like Anacondas did it the right way. They had a crazy guy running around yelling. Whereas
Anacondas. Are you talking about the original or the sequel, Hunt for the Blood?
Anaconda, I'm talking about the first one
Okay.
with having an actual villain who, besides your giant
Yeah.
monster character. This
Yeah.
movie did a horrible job of it. Little Gustav sucks. He dies super fast. There's really no point to any of it.
No, I'm Team Gustav personally. Like that's what.
100%. Also,
Yeah.
just quick facts for everybody. I do have more. Last time Gustav may be dead. Last time anyone saw him was 2019, but he still could be alive because Crocs live a very long time.
Someone saw him in 2019. Where that
Yeah.
boy been?
Uh,
Jeez.
Eating corpses, I guess. How do you lose track of a giant crocodile like that? It's like there he is right over there.
Yeah. Okay, let's round us off here. Let's talk about Rogue. So Rogue was.
I barely talked about Primeval.
Oh, sorry. Do you have?
Oh, do you
more?
have more? I'm sorry, I
That's
skipped
okay.
over
Let's-
that one.
No, let's
just
hear it.
didn't-
Like,
I just didn't really say like what I thought of it or anything. but,
please.
I hated it. It's a terrible movie. It's such a like shockingly unsatisfying movie, and that like
In so many ways.
these movies need to like go in one of two directions. Like they need to be this small, intense exercise in tension, like Blackwater is, or something like that, or they should be big and fun, like Lake Placid, Anaconda, Deep Blue Sea, all these movies. But they're making a movie that's like intentionally not going to be any fun for anybody, because they're making this movie that seems like it's supposed to be serious, and they're using a real life military conflict that is a very serious thing.
They're
and
using a whole genocide as
I
a
wrote
joke.
in my notes, they're practically dropping the characters from Sahara into this. You know,
Mhm.
Sahara with like Matthew McConaughey and
Matthew
Steve Zahn.
McConaughey,
That's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's like
fucking
what these
hate that.
people are. You've got this doofy tough guy who has no personality and sucks. You've got his goofy sidekick. You've got the hot girl whose only point in the movie is to skip around and giggle and get her shirt ripped off at one point. And
Yep.
it always sucks when a movie gets its one moment of sex appeal from assault, and that's what
Oh
this
my
does.
god, yeah, that really stood out in this one too.
Yeah, they cannot pick a lane with this movie, so it just ends up being a miserable experience, and I was just like dying for it to end. And when it felt like it was going to end, and then you get a twist with like who the real warlord is, I'm like, no. And then he forces them to go on some other quest. I'm like, I just need this movie to be over. I don't need a new villain introduced at this point.
No.
Can I also ask, since you did kind of mention about the assault thing, I don't want to talk directly about that, but about the fact that the guy who tries to assault her gets killed by Gustav in a way that I don't really understand how it worked. It was kind of like the T-Rex getting into the building in Jurassic Park, where all of a sudden he was just there, but like stabbing the guy in the back. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because the guy's like,
It's really over the top. Like that's like the kill sequence of the movie.
yeah, but it's played as a slasher thing. It's the classic slasher, like, oh, I just got stabbed and you don't know what stabbed me. But it's like, it's how the fuck did a crocodile do that? A giant 20 fucking foot crocodile or whatever.
Yeah, he just breaks into a little camper. Yeah, no, it's a mess.
And she makes it out unscathed as well. For some, like, Gustav is largely ineffective. He's in the back of a fucking vehicle and can't kill anybody.
Yeah, both her and Tough Guy get out unscathed, and then they're like holding hands on the plane at the end. And I'm like, when did this happen?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, are they
got
trauma
that.
bonding?
Yeah,
I
well, no,
guess.
it's just so fucking frustrating and that's just a trope that was really prevalent around this time, and you know even the decade before, where they have no chemistry whatsoever the entire movie, and it's like all of a sudden wait, or she was a love interest, but all he was doing was making fun of her the whole time. Like,
yeah, and grilling about her boss. Like,
This
what the
male
fuck?
screenwriter is like, that's what women want. They want
Yeah.
you to make fun of them.
I
That's
know
hot.
chicks. Yeah. Believe me, I know chicks.
Well, it looks like I'm the only dude left.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else have anything left to say about Primeval?
I think
No,
this
I
will be
just-
my last viewing of Primeval.
I think so
Ever.
too, man. I think so.
Okay. Let's talk about Rogue.
Man has a basic need to explore.
We're on bush time now, so should have you back around 5 or 6.
Aye, Captain.
But at the edge of the world,
How big is this boat?
You'll be right, as long as you don't go in the water.
in the heart of paradise,
You might want to take your seat. Gets a bit hairy around this bend.
a line is about to be crossed.
This is sacred land. Not really supposed to go through here.
Oh my God, where's he? There! There!
Tide's rising. We've got no choice. We go now with a chance, or later, you figure it out.
Something ancient,
Can you see anything?
Good work.
something evil
He's not moving.
For Christ's sake, move!
has remained undisturbed until now.
Now!
Now, come on!
Now! Hurry, do something!
Come on, swim!
Rogue.
Directed by Greg McLean, who is the man behind the Wolf Creek series. He directed the Belko Experiment. I directed
forgot
a
about that
That's
film.
right.
Yeah, a really underrated film that I actually thought was pretty solid was Jungle, starring Daniel Radcliffe. That was a pretty solid movie. I
That
thought. But
one's not like a horror though, right?
No.
That's just when he was
It's a
just chilling in
survival.
the jungle. Yeah.
it's a survival
Oh,
tale.
And he made that Kevin Bacon haunted house movie, The Darkness, that I heard was bad. Interesting.
Yes.
That's such an outlier in this filmography.
Yeah, no kidding. Because okay, so he followed up Wolf Creek with Rogue. And once again, like these movies, it's just pretty tough to come up with a good poster art for them, it seems. But I remember seeing the poster art for Rogue being like, this is obviously like, of course I'm gonna watch it, but this is gonna be bad. And yeah, I watched it and I fucking love this movie. I feel like this is everything that Primeval isn't, and also it does a lot of things that Blackwater, they do have a lot of things in common. Specifically, I'm sorry, I'm blowing my load here. I want to get a round the table thoughts about Rogue before I start talking.
Okay, so if I can just decipher what you're saying, maybe distill it for a
know.
second. This is a more movie-ish cinematic version of Blackwater because they do very similar things.
It is much more movie-ish. Yes, I know what you mean.
It's a more cinematic, typical
Yeah.
cinematic version.
I like
of-
movie-ish. I prefer
Yeah.
that one. I'm gonna say
yeah,
using that.
no, it is. The thing is, this is Blackwater with a budget, like a bigger budget. It seems has some star power behind it. We have Mr. No Name from Never Been Kissed, Michael Vartan, who's obviously the love interest. We got Sam Worthington. This was before the success of Avatar and everything. Rhoda Mitchell, who's always great. Who was? Oh yeah,
Who's the serial killer dude?
Serial killer dude.
Yeah, one of the guys.
John
the guy
Jarrett.
from Cry Wolf
Yeah, no, he's from Wolf Creek.
or Wolf
John,
Creek. sorry.
yeah, John Jarrett. He played the character Russell. But Mia Wasikowska is in this fucking movie as a teenager, which is just nuts. But yeah, the movie, like this, the thing that this movie does so well, in my opinion, is that it like does a really good job of populating the film with characters that you care about in different ways. And by doing that, like the whole exposition on the exposition of them going out, the expedition going out and having the tour guide explain different facts about crocodiles, it doesn't feel like it's beating you over the head, and it actually just, she's touching on little things that make you realize how fucking horrifying these creatures are and what they're capable of.
You feel like you're part of the boat ride as opposed to being just told facts. I don't know if that's kind of how I felt like.
Yeah, it's good storytelling. She details how magnificent and beautiful and mischievous these things are, and how intelligent they are, and how terrifying they can be. And there's like the one moment before things really start picking up is like you see one of the crocodiles in the water, and it just within a second, just like, and it's a real shot of an actual crocodile, just disappears underwater really quickly, and it just gives me chills. And I think this movie, like, it opens up with the same scene as The Lion King, so that's something that I'll also give it props for, with the opening of the it has a very similar opening to The Lion King. And then
that's definitely what I thought watching this, of course.
Yeah, then you watch an expertly executed crocodile attack on a water buffalo, and it's brutal, it's startling, and it's vicious. And
way better to do that with a water buffalo, because Primeval does that with like a toddler, and I'm like, I don't need this little throwaway kill here.
Wasn't it like, it was a toddler and then also like a woman from the UN,
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I have one big complaint about this movie, but we'll leave that for let's go around the table. Daniel, let's hear your thoughts on Rogue.
Yeah, I was really excited to watch this because this was a movie I've actually meant to see for a long time, because I've heard it's really good, and it is. I love this movie just unabashedly. It was the first movie I watched leading up to this, which I think was the right way to go, because it got me all pumped up to watch more croc movies. And it's a blast, but also I love how it accomplishes being a fun horror ride, but it takes everything really, really seriously. Like as in contrast, just as coincidence, like soon before watching this, I randomly rewatched Adam Green's Hatchet, which is a movie I really enjoy. And it's funny how that movie and this movie have a very similar setup. It's a bunch of people like get on a tour boat and go down the river.
Yeah, you're actually right.
And while I really enjoy Hatchet, it does treat everything as a joke. And Rogue doesn't. Rogue is like deadpan serious about all of it, and it makes it all feel just really brutal and intense. And you want some crocodile kills, like you do in your heart, but you also don't really want any of these people to die, and it feels horrifying. And I really like when an animal attacks movie has horror coming from the animal that's attacking, but also has something else. And in Crawl, it's the hurricane. Like, that's a dangerous movie if there are no crocodiles. In The Shallow, The Shallows isn't quite applicable because she could swim away. But in this one, it's the tide, and that they can't just stand here because they're going to get swallowed up by the ocean eventually, or the river, or whatever it is eventually. And that's just such a great thing to have, like this tension coming from two different places at the same time. Really, really cool.
Totally. Boozy.
Yeah, and just kind of to add on with what you're saying, it is kind of to have that as that extra foil, but also the idea that the Croc's foil is working tandem with that, because you're going like the water is rising, which is a danger in itself, but also this thing is in there, and everything they're trying to do, it's slightly fucking with them. Because even
so
you have
quick.
Exactly, you have, because some of your characters get killed off screen. You have one of the Duke boys, or whatever the fuck they are when they show up. He's just gone. Mm-hmm. And that I kind of like that they have something in there to be like, okay, these things are just, it's going to get you, and you're not even going to have time to really do anything about it. I like every time. Let's talk a little bit about, with this film, the Gator itself being this more Jaws like villain. I think this one portrays it the best, which you'd think that fucking Gustav should be the one that portrays it. But yeah, besides, I guess what I'm coming down to is, out of this fucking film, aside from just being like a solid Croc film, overall is just a solid horror movie. It has just a ton of great ideas put out, like it, like you'd said, is it doesn't do anything huge. Like the whole purpose of half the film is just trying to get from a little island to a riverbank, and it's all the tedious things within there that work so well. The characters are in their own way slightly likable. They're not terrible, despicable people.
Yeah,
all
there's
of them.
only
So
a,
even
just like the photographer who's clearly a douche, and you're like want him to bite
yeah,
it.
but like
It's
none
like
of
the
them are
arrow
just
pointed at
outright
his dick from
evil.
his t-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. The man, the legend, the
But
classic
even-
just douche. Yeah,
Even having like the father with his like moment of regret, and then all of a sudden you have the gator come out and throw him into the water, and
oh
that-
god, yeah, it's
just
savage.
kind of how it slowly just takes him. It's not like a, well, I mean, it is a
That-
violent death, but it's so slow.
But where
and
he just
like,
drags him down under the
Yeah.
water. Yeah, no, that's like for me the worst kill in the movie. Like second worst, for painful. Like that's painful to watch. But yeah,
mhm.
that's and that's one of the parts I love that Rod and Mitchell talks about is how they study their prey. Like they'll
Mhm.
just, and that makes sense why they will just like, peek their little flat heads out of the water and just
And
watch.
be all cute.
Yeah, and be all cute, watching you, like studying your tracks, and like that's why they'll go back
Mhm.
and kill like cows and stuff and like things that go closer to water because they know when their clock is on where they're gonna go and need to feed themselves and drink water, whatnot. I love all that stuff. It's also funny that this is the first time I ever saw Sam Worthington, and the movie opens up with Sam Worthington's ass. Like you see just his butt as he's going down the river.
He was in like a couple of Australian horror movies before he got big with Avatar. Because yeah, I remember him from
Mhm.
stuff like this too.
He's good in this. Like I don't know. I think
He's definitely good in this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's good. And I think the whole cast is actually really solid in this movie. And like that's one of it just has all the right devices to make it just a fun ride. Like this is just a
Yeah.
fun movie to watch in the same way that, like it seems lazy to compare it to Crawl, but that's what makes Crawl so enjoyable is that it's like one obstacle after another. And it's just like, goddamn, she cannot catch a break.
Yeah.
And that movie does it even better than this. But with this one, like there's all it's just the little intricacies for them to get out. And like you said, Boozy, the the crocodile in his lair, it's just, it's pure movie magic, like what we felt in 1998 when we were watching Godzilla.
I appreciate that the crocodile in this film is not supernatural in terms of what it can do or over the top. It does pretty much what a regular old crocodile would do. It does not hang out in the back of a Honda Civic and spin around.
It's like I think the movie has that really good Night of the Living Dead factor where the conflict between the characters is really good. So again, like the movie just has so much going for it. It's got a crocodile, it's got a tide, it's got good conflict between these people and good dialogue between them. So all that's great. I also agree about the cast. Like Rhoda Mitchell's one of those actors that you're usually probably not going to watch a movie just because she's in it, but every time she pops up in a movie, she's always great. And I love how the movie builds the kills in that, like the first kill, we don't even see the guy get eaten. Like it just shows how quick this croc is that like suddenly he's just gone. And he's the husband of Mary Ellen. And that's the reason that she gets so freaked out through the movie. And she drove me crazy when she's trying to crawl across the rope and then she doesn't go any further. Oh, I was so mad at her character though. I know you do. She's the Barbara, from Night of the Living Dead.
Totally. You're totally right about like Rhoda Mitchell's great. Like every time I've seen her, she's she's always tremendous. But I always forget what I know her from, and it's the Crazies and Silent Hill. Like so,
and Pitch
those are...
Black. That's the first one for me.
Oh right, yeah. It's been so long since I've seen Pitch Black. I want to revisit that one.
I remember it being really good, but it's been a few years for me too.
Oh, and Man on Fire, and Phone Booth. God damn.
And the Crazies.
I remember
remake,
liking
really
Phone Booth.
Phone Booth is awesome.
Just watch Phone Booth.
I like those kinds of movies.
You want to just like turn off the podcast?
Yeah, let's
watch
turn
Phone
it
Booth?
off and watch Phone Booth. I just want to say with this little series, and thank you, Daniel, for coming on.
Sure.
I think people should. I'm sure Daniel could back me up, maybe not, as somebody who's new to the animal attack croc subgenre here. There is a little bit of something to offer here, even if you're not into straight up just animal attack films in terms of storytelling. Like there are people who don't like those kind of movies but will watch something like Jaws, and it's like, hey, why don't you just check out Rogue? Why don't you check out Blackwater? There's some good stuff in there.
I think Rogue's like the easiest bet to recommend to people.
It's like, man, if you like Jaws, yeah, like I think you'll find something enjoyable in something like Rogue.
Heck yeah. I would say it's my second favorite Croc movie now, behind Crawl.
I think mine is still, I think Crawl is the winner, and then Lake Placid is slightly behind it, then Rogue for me.
It's got that nostalgia factor for sure.
Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny and charming.
It's so fun. Yeah.
Once again, Daniel, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank
It was
you.
an absolute treat to have you here. Do you have something that you can plug? I know you're taking a little bit of a break right now, but you got some stuff planned.
Yeah. So my podcast is the Cobwebs Podcast. You can find it on any streaming app. All through the month of March, I did a whole series on Steve McQueen movies. I don't really know how much crossover there is between Croc movie fans and Steve McQueen fans, but if you're that person, you can check those out. But yeah, that series was really fun, but it was also a lot of work. So I'm kind of on a little bit of a break right now. But the next episode I'm doing is another horror episode. I've got a big Hammer horror fan coming on to talk about some more Hammer.
Nice.
So that'll be a good time. And I'm also going to be on the Schlock and Awe podcast soon as well. So definitely check out Lindsay on Schlock and Awe.
Okay, wicked. And yeah, you will hear from us again soon. We have a special episode coming up with an interview that I think we'll just kind of share it once we have it done.
Yeah, let's not talk about it right now.
Yeah, so we'll share that interview when it comes out, but it does have something heavily to do with nature run amok films, specifically alligators and sharks, or crocodiles, sorry. And then once again, we're going to be having Lindsay Wilkins on to talk about, we're going to do a Monster Mash series where Boozy chose Prophecy, I chose The Beast of 20,000 Fathoms, and Lindsay chose Clive Barker's Nightbreed. So lots of horror homework if that's something that you're wanting to do, and get so you can join the conversation and keep listening to us be dumbasses talking about horror movies, because that's what we do. Awesome. All right, well, I guess we can close up for the night. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Terror Table.